Donald Trump, according to a new report, had over 300 combined classified documents. Many of those documents actually related to the CIA, FBI, and the NSA. Let me give you some background to this. It's quite interesting. So the initial batch of documented classified documents were retrieved by the National Archives. This was in January. It included more than 150 marked as classified, a number that ignited intense concern at the Justice Department and helped trigger the criminal investigation that led the FBI to swoop into Mar-a-Lago this month, seeking to recover more. Multiple people have affirmed this connected to the matter. There's more. In total, that means the government has recovered more than 300 documents with classified markings from former President Donald Trump since he left office. That first batch of documents returned in January, another set provided by Trump's aides to the Justice Department in June, and the materials seized by the FBI in the search this month. The previously unreported volume of the sensitive material found in the former president's possession in January helps explain why the Justice Department moved so urgently to hunt down any further classified materials he might have. Now, what is the defense of Donald Trump here? Well, it depends on who's talking. According to Giuliani, he did steal classified information. Giuliani said, yes, he was in possession of classified information, but see, he was just preserving the classified information. So that's one defense. Another defense from Trump's camp is that, well, Donald Trump actually had a standing order to declassify anything that he took. Well, once again, that's contrary to what Giuliani is saying. And then there are others who are saying, well, this is simply a witch hunt. I just heard a narrative earlier this week that said, no, this was planted. Yeah, that the documents were in fact planted. There's more. The specific nature of the sensitive material that Trump took from the White House remains unclear. But the 15 boxes Trump turned over to the archives in January, nearly a year after he left office, included documents from the CIA, the National Security Agency, and the FBI, spanning a variety of topics of national security interest. A person briefed on the matter said. Trump went through the boxes himself in late 2021, according to multiple people briefed on the efforts. A federal judge in Florida. Now, this is a shift. Remember, there's a case, a motion filed about taking away the restrictions involved in this case. Now, if you take away the restrictions as it relates to the subpoena, as it relates to some of the evidence leading up to this raid, well, you also take away the veil that covers witnesses, people that are testifying against Trump, people that are willing to testify against Trump in the future. A federal judge in Florida has formally rejected the Justice Department's plea on Monday to keep an affidavit underpinning the August 8th raid at former President Donald Trump's home. The government wants to keep it private. There's a motion not to keep it private. So in his 13-page ruling, the US magistrate judge, Bruce Reinhart, found that the government had not justified keeping the entire affidavit under seal due to the intense public and historical interest in an unprecedented search of a former president's residence. Now, if you remember when I covered this last week, I said it is interesting to note that the way this is going down is all about the contrast between public interest and this process of investigation. And typically a federal judge will weigh if the interest is intense enough, meaning public interest. If it is intense enough, there will be a different decision made. You do not get more public than a former president being raided by the FBI. So we're likely going to see information, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday of this week. We're going to see information that could possibly provide a map of who's involved in testifying against Trump. So following a hearing last week, Reinhart, who signed off on the initial search warrant of Mar-a-Lago earlier this month, gave the government until noon Thursday to submit proposed redactions of the affidavit. The Justice Department top counterintelligence official, Jay Bratt, argued that releasing the affidavit in full would, and I quote, provide a roadmap to the investigation and allow, quote, amateur sleuths on the internet to identify key witnesses. Well, what is this saying? The government has told us a lot here in their rebuttal. They have told us they not only have a witness, they have multiple witnesses. And not only do they have multiple witnesses, they have some that they have classified as key witnesses. That's a different distinction. In addition to that, there's enough there to where if this information is released, you will be able to connect the dots. According to the prosecutor, an amateur may be able to connect these dots. There's more. This is a volatile situation with respect to this search across the political spectrum. But on our side in particular, Bratt told the judge, the government is very concerned about the safety of the witnesses in these cases and the impact of all the attention on these witnesses on other witnesses. So what does that mean? That means the government is concerned, and rightfully so, that violence may be animated against the witnesses that could be exposed. I submit to you that I believe some of these witnesses, or at least one, is connected to the family of Donald Trump. We'll continue to keep you updated as it develops this week. Attorney at law, your legal mind present in this case. What are your thoughts here?
So we now know that Trump had some 300 classified documents in his possession, or at least at a minimum. And we also now understand that there were 700 pages of documents just in that first documents that were picked up by National Archives back in January. So the man had probably over 1,000 pages of classified documents in toto, and yet he continued to keep this in his possession. And we're also finding out that he had been subpoenaed twice, one for documents that were classified and also for the security footage. And then we also know that his attorney, Christina Bobb, is the one who signed the declaration, I believe in June, promising the government that Trump had no more classified documents in his possession. It tells us that Trump knew, he knew from January when National Archives demanded the documents, into June when they issued that subpoena, as well as when his attorney responded back saying, hey, we don't have any more classified documents, only for the FBI to conduct the search and to pull out 26 boxes. This man is an enemy of the state. If we are going to pretend that that is not the case, we are simply lying to ourselves. There is no way you can legitimize that man having all of those documents. And the thing is even if he said he declassified them, the declaration that Bob signed said any documents marked as classified. So that doesn't matter whether they are classified, were they marked as classified. That marking was still there and present. So if there's not indictment, if there is not any kind of prosecution, if there's not actually holding people accountable here, it really does tell us that the president is above the law and whomever his wealthy white cohorts are as well.
Very well said, and I echo your sentiment about the attorney. I do believe Trump's attorney, because of this signature, is going to either A, become a co-defendant with Trump, or B, possibly be disbarred very soon. And people are saying, well, Trump declassified the information on his way out. Well, that's not true. You see, if he would have declassified the information, declassification does not exist just for a president. That's called being read in to a classified memo. So the president can have access to classified information without declassifying the information. If it is declassified, that means it is declassified for you and me, for the public. And if it's not available for us, then it's not in fact declassified. All right,